6 or 7 years ago, I met a guy at a concealed carry class, and he was a scout sniper in the Marine Corps that had retired, and he introduced me to long range shooting and got me hooked. I've been hooked ever since.
I got into the sport been shooting a long time, been shooting long range, pretty considerable amount of time, and decided to try the competition side of it. A lot of fun, a lot of good people.
I first got into the sport of long range shooting as I was an avid hunter for years, and I made some great shots and I made some terrible shots in the field, so I figured I might want to start taking some classes. I took a class at a shooting school, saw the precision rifle class on the curriculum, and I said that's for me. So took that class about a year later, and it's been downhill ever since.
Well, I'm from Stockton, California, and I started shooting in a public shooting range, and I meet those guys, NorCal, and they invite me to shoot long distance, and I love it, and now I'm here. Yeah.
After the Marine Corps, I started shooting F-class and bench rest shooting, and it wasn't fulfilling for me, so I started looking into the more technical style shooting.
I actually took a class at Boise, Idaho, Crosshairs Long Range Hunting School. Another competitor here, Dave Wheats, helps run that. Got into that, wanted to start off on a clean slate, not have a bunch of bad things to unlearn, I guess, and started doing that and loved it. Just got really into it, started shooting a lot, and wanted to try to start competing and take it to the next level kind of thing, and haven't really looked back, I guess.
I've been shooting since I was a little kid. I kind of grew up in the forest and kind of raised with a 22 in my hand. I always been shooting something or another. I moved to Oregon from California. I got into ARs and all that stuff, which is kind of everyone's gateway drug, so to speak. And then I got into the precision bolt thing, kind of through Sniper's Hide. I got on there, started reading a bunch about it. I went up to Washington, shot Kettle Falls. It was my first match ever 3 years ago. Then moved on to doing local monthly matches. We started running some down in Oregon, and now I'm here.
Well, actually, I've been shooting since a kid. My stepfather is a world-class bench rest shooter. He's been on the U.S. team multiple times. Obviously, I grew up bench rest shooting. Over the last few years, we've opened up butchesreloading.com. He's been building rifles for a while, so we got into long-range stuff. And now I'm here trying to compete with the best.
I've always been interested in long-range shooting ever since I was in high school. I started with the Remington 700 Police 308 and just had a Nikon on it. And I would always take the caps off and adjust the turrets, and bought some dope cards just offline and never really got into it till there was a local match in Prescott. And so I started shooting, and so the uniqueness to me is just being cool to shoot 1,000+ yards and hit targets.
Well, like most Texas boys, I always enjoyed hunting, and I always thought that the long, far kill would be epic. And that's how I kind of started doing some research to try to get into the sport.
Just like shooting, and then got into bolt action, and then I was at a range one day, saw a bunch of guys with some really nice guns, shooting, making impacts, and I wasn't. So I just started asking questions, and it got expensive from there, so.
I competed in high-power rifle when I was in high school and through my years in the service. I would join the police department and was a sniper for the Kansas City Police Department. When the sport first started in about 98, 99 at Badlands and Rifles Only, it was just one of those draws. I was interested in it. Been shooting it ever since.
You know what, I got into guns about 7 or 8 years ago and wanted to just do a little bit more, wanted to start competing. Got tired of just being at the range at home, and wanted to get up off my belly and shoot. That's why I like these type of matches, because it's a lot more involved than just laying on your belly the whole time.
I got into this sport in 2002, just shooting a long range competition that a friend invited me to. I was skeptical about getting into long range and never had shot past 300 yards. Entered the competition and had my first 1,000-yard hit and was competing with the field of shooters there. So at that point, it just kind of became an addiction, So.
The sport has been only about the last 6 or 7 years, but I've been in law enforcement for 20, and have done a fair amount of precision shooting, and have just gotten more involved in it, and I'm actually looking forward to shooting more matches so I can learn more about equipment, that kind of thing.
I actually got into the sport about 5 or 6 years ago. My brother was shooting the precision rifle game, and I'm a big 3 gunner, so I was like, hey, that looks kind of fun. I want to try that out. So I jumped into the precision rifle game, and I fell in love with it. It's a lot different thinking than 3 gun.
I got into the sport, taught myself actually. Started 3-4 years. This is starting my 4th season now. I shot my first match and just got stomped. I absolutely got stomped. And I seriously almost thought about quitting, because I've always been the type, if I wasn't good at it to begin with, I probably won't be. But I was like, no, I'm gonna put my nose to the grindstone, and I practiced a ton. I melted 2 barrels before I shot my next match, and have been doing a lot better since.
A local group, local matches, putting on from Flagstaff, and there's a couple of matches there in Arizona, just getting in with the club members and learning.
Well, actually my husband got me into this sport. He started shooting about a year ago, and I've usually just shot my deer rifle maybe 1 or 2 times a year to sight it in and then go kill a deer and put it down and ready for the next year. And one day he said, come over and shoot with me. I said, okay. Went over there and shot with him, and he said, hey, I think you got some potential at this. And I said, well, it's easy, you know. You just dial up your dope and put it down range and aim at the target. He says, well, it's a little bit more involved. And now I'm finding out it is a little bit more involved.
I actually started out in the military, so that's where I got into shooting. Started competition a few years before I got out, and just kept it up ever since. It's a good way to keep me fresh on the rifle, and it's a lot of fun.
I started shooting trap and skeet about 7-8 years ago, and that kind of ran its course after 4 or 5 seasons. It just got bored, and picked up a 308 rifle and got tired of shooting groups and wanted to shoot something a little different, a little more challenging, and kind of like to run and like to be a little athletic, so I picked this up naturally. So.
Well, I shot a little bit as a Boy Scout, and I enjoyed that, and then went on to my career in photography and filmmaking for many years, and decided pretty much when I met my wife that I wanted to try to get in it, both for initially for self-protection and defense reasons, and then found out I really enjoyed it. And eventually, I've always had a fascination with high precision things, especially optics, and that led me to precision shooting.
It started out with the creating Sniper's Hide, and when the site went active and started to become popular early in the first year, Jacob from Rifles Only had come up to Connecticut and said, now that you have a popular website, you need to have a competition associated to it. And that brought me down and introduced me into the competition world and shooting and doing all that we're doing today.
About 5 years ago, I was about to sell every firearm I had just because shooting at 100 yards was really boring. And I went onto the AR15.com forum, looked at the local thing just goofing off, trying to actually gauge prices for firearms. And I saw a local match posting that said shoot from anywhere from 5 yards to 700 yards. Sign up is $10. Please contact, and it had a phone number. And I called the phone number, said, is it filled up on registration? They said no, and I came out and tried it.
Shooting long range without competing for a while, and then just ran into some friends that had been doing it, and they said, hey, you need to come out and practice with us. And then once I did and seen all the stages, and I got hooked, and now I'm addicted.
I helped RO at the first Tactical Precision Rifle Challenge in Arizona in 2009, and couldn't believe that people were hitting targets on the other side of this wash that we shoot in. It was only like 400 yards, but to me at the time, it might have been a mile. So I was so impressed that they could get on stuff quickly and make impacts that far away. I said, that's what I want to do.
I got into this sport from
just being a rifle guy, you know, I love shooting. I've been in shooting sports my whole life. My dad got me shooting 3-gun matches when I was just a young kid. And I love shooting the distance. I'm a hunter, so, you know, getting quality training with my hunting rifles and stuff like that, well, it just evolved into shooting the precision stuff.
My number one recommendation is to go to a match. You know, you don't even have to shoot the match. Just stop by at the match, talk to the shooters, see if it's something you'd be interested in. If it seems like something you'd like to do, come back, bring a rifle with you, give it a try. If you really want to get into it, get some professional instruction. When I first started this, I started shooting precision rifle 2 years ago. I was not that good. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was having a lot of fun, but just not at the top level. I've been working with Scott Satterley from Precision Tactical Solutions for the last 2 years, and he's been able to take my game up many notches and just been able to progress fast in this sport.
Get out and try it. Even if you don't have the equipment you think that you may need, go shoot a club match, practice up with a friend, but most of all, try the competition out, because it's a different side from just shooting off your back porch.
For people getting into the sport, I'd recommend finding a local club that's close by you, going out there. It doesn't matter what your equipment is, just go shoot, have fun, and the people there are great. They'll help you out.
If you are going to spend some money on a rifle, it's worth spending the money to learn how to shoot it from a professional. Granted, having said that, I taught myself everything learning the hard way. It cost a whole lot more money, but in a sense, I learned better from learning the hard way. So,
My recommendation, if I could make one, would be to come out and do it. You'll learn more at one of these matches than you can in a year reading online. If you come out here and do it, you'll see the gear that works, what doesn't work. You get to look at people's stuff, so you're not buying something blind and just getting it at your house, figuring out it doesn't work for you. Everyone out here in this, everyone's competitive because they're here. They wouldn't be in the PRS, but they're the most friendly group of people you'll meet. Just come out here, you get behind anyone's gun, people let you shoot them. You can find out so much stuff. We've all, as everyone here knows, we've gone through scopes, rifles, calibers, barrels, everything. We found what kind of settled on what worked for us. You can figure that out, 40-50% of that in one weekend. That will be my biggest recommendation, and you can see how the pros actually shoot.
Okay, I recommend that when they get in this sport, that they look to doing the best for themselves, not to impress anybody else in the sport. It's all for you, not for anybody else. You've got to focus and make yourself better each time that you're out here shooting, at what you can do to make yourself better.
Oh, absolutely. Just don't be nervous about going to your first match. I know I was, but as soon as I got there, all the guys are great. They're very helpful, and you'll have fun no matter what. You know, my first few matches, just local matches, I shot terrible, and but you know, you just gradually get better, and I'm not doing terrible today so far. So even though it's my first PRS match, I'm having a great time.
I recommend that they come out and just maybe watch your RO help a match. You know, these matches don't go on by themselves, and they need help, and you might pick something up. I mean, I picked a lot of stuff up before I started shooting, just by going to matches and watching to see what to do and what not to do on a stage, how to approach a stage. You know, there's a lot of you got to be mentally prepared before you get to a stage. You can't just assume that you're just going to go into a stage and clean it.
Practice. Everyone, I think, assumes they need to go out and buy like super mega expensive equipment. I don't suggest that. I actually probably suggest someone to get something to start with, make sure it's for them, that they like it. Practice. Probably get reloading equipment even before you get a good gun. Give yourself some time to soak it in, and you'll know after a year, 6 months what you want. That way you don't get into buying equipment that you don't need and or you don't like.
Jump in both feet. Find somebody close, like a local club, to get started. Start with whatever caliber you've got the money for and build up from there. Because if you go and spend 10 grand on a rifle and it turns out it's not something that's for you, you wasted all that money. So sometimes it's better to get a used 308 or a used 223, start learning the wind a little bit, get the positions down, and then build from there.
If you're a rifle person, come into this thing with an open mind to have fun. Pay attention to the guys that are shooting well. Yeah, there's a lot of us that have sponsors, but pay attention to what works, what doesn't work so much, and really listen to what the guys that are winning say, because there's so many different people on the internet saying that this is the only way to do something. Baloney. There's lots of ways to skin a cat, and there's lots of great shooters in the sport that you can talk to. There's a great group of people in the sport. They will talk to you, so it's just pay attention to those guys.
I say the best thing to do is don't be intimidated by anybody with flashy NASCAR shirts, running around. Just get out there and try it. The best thing, you can also go and talk to other guys who are at your local range, and they got so much information. You can learn more in a couple days at the range than you ever could by sitting there browsing the internet.
Don't be scared to come out and shoot. This is a very friendly sport. Everybody's receptive to new shooters. That's what we're here for. We're here to teach new guys, to educate them. That's the take-home message, is don't be scared. Show up and shoot, and you'll have a good time.
Be prepared to spend some money. It's not cheap. A lot of guys, I think, try to go a little bit cheap off the get-go, and they end up making full circle, and they've wasted a lot of money on gadgets, that didn't really work for them. There's tons of stuff out there. Some of it's a necessity, some of it's just such a bitch.
I would say talk to other people that are competing. Try as much gear out before you buy it all, unless you have a ton of money. There's a lot of gear that you go through, and you realize after a little while it's not quite as good as it might have been. And then just pay attention. Don't act like you know everything. Try to always learn, and it'll help you out.
It's definitely a fun sport. It's an expensive sport. The recommendations I would have is probably to meet up with somebody who shoots in the PRS, spend some time with them, go to the range with them, learn a little bit about shooting precision. A lot of these guys out here are teaching as well, and I think that somebody who's just breaking into the sport really needs to go out and do that.
If I was getting into this sport today, what I would do, I wouldn't buy a 308, I'd buy a 6.5 Creedmoor, I'd have it done by a reputable smith, or I'd buy an off-the-shelf one. I'd spend most of my money on ammo and glass. Once I got through what I thought I could learn on the internet and doing it myself, I'd go out and I'd hire somebody to teach me to shoot.
The first thing I'd say is to find somebody that's in the match and just pick their brain. What works, what doesn't. I have this much money to spend. What can I do with it? And I'll build a rifle and get started. And then, who is your club matches where I can go and practice and meet people?
Find somebody to mentor you. Best way to get into this and learn what you're doing wrong is to find somebody who's already had those issues and can teach you from the start.
Find a local group, a local club, and just come out and shoot. If you wait until you feel like you're ready, you'll never start. You just got to jump in and do it.
Just get into it and do it, and don't be afraid to ask questions from the guys you're shooting with, because they're more than happy to share the knowledge.
Go out and get yourself a rifle and a scope and get to the range. It doesn't have to be the high-speed gear. You'll progress just like golf. You'll buy the cheap clubs, and as you go, you'll start getting good ones.
My recommendation for people who want to get into the sport are just to go out and do it and not be afraid you can't afford the best whiz-bang product out there or the most expensive rifle. That it's really about just taking that first step and committing to it. If you have a $700 SPS and a $299 Super Sniper, doesn't matter. Go out and do it.
Just get a good rifle, good scope, and just come and join us. and they will have a really good time.
Just coming out and watching or shooting. Even shooting's better. Don't worry about where you place or if you're hitting targets or not. That's just how you learn. Shoot. Just shoot as much as you can afford and just keep shooting.
Go to any local gun club, any place that's putting on a match, and just try it. Jump in with what you have and really go for it. When I started shooting this, I had 2 rifles, an Armalite Super SASS and a Savage 110 FP and a choke stock with a Super Sniper scope. And I used a choke Super Sniper combination with that Savage for about 7 months, just till I figured out if I liked it. It's an expensive hobby. You really have to see if you like it and run what you brought.
Most importantly, come out. You know, a lot of people have hesitation to come out. I found that usually people at these events, everybody is really open and willing to help each other out. I know that I'm still learning a lot. I know that guys that have been here doing this for a minute, they have no problem coming up going, hey, look, maybe you should try this on the next time you do that. And I think that's what's awesome, the camaraderie. And there are people that are willing to help. You know, you don't get jerks that are just like, no, get out of here, leave me alone. And I think people at home have that mentality. If they come out, they're not going to shoot as well, and people are going to make fun of them. And no, man, just come out and have fun.
My recommendation is go shoot a match. Go shoot your local match. Go shoot any match you can get into. I didn't really catch the bug for this until I shot my first local match, and I realized just how much more the competition gives you in terms of learning skill and pressure and all this. And consequently, I'm very active in my local club, PRS in California. I'm shooting with a bunch of my friends here who I shoot with every month, and we go and, you know, it's really nice to have that camaraderie and really just like enjoy not just the experience of shooting, but also having your friends around you and being able to cheer each other on and give each other shit. You know, it's a very fun experience to have that with a group of people that have like a like-minded approach.
I would say just start with something simple. The equipment doesn't really matter how well you're going to do. You have to get used to and find what works for you. I think some people get wrapped up in equipment in this bag or that sling or this other thing. I think just picking up a regular 223 bolt action or a 308 and just going to the range and practicing different positions, not shooting for groups, I think that kind of will really open your eyes to what's going on and get you prepared.
I shoot a surgeon rifle. It's a 6.5 by 47 Lapua. I really like that cartridge. It's really consistent. I shoot a 140 Burger inside of that, hybrid. I shoot a Vortex Optics. It's their new Gen 2 scope, Macmillan A5 stock. So all that equipment I've been running for the last 4 or 5 years, basic configuration. I really like the 6.5 cartridge. I feel it's probably the most consistent and long-lasting cartridge out there.
I've got a Kelbley's action, shooting a Hawk Hill custom barrel, Templar tactical suppressor. Shoot for Team Leopold, so I've got the Mark 8 rock solid stock. Got a jewel trigger, and I'm running a 6.5-47 Lapua.
I run a Surgeon 591, chambered in 6.5 by 47, done by Butch's Guns out of Woodward. I run the 140 hybrid, running about 2810 with the H4350. I run 205M primers, Lapua brass, Spit & Bender scope, Macmillan A35 stock, Harris bipod, short action precision sling, and tab gear rear bags.
Shooting a 6.5 by 47 with Berger 140 VLD Huntings. US Optics are the scopes I use. I use benchmark barrels, and I'll use a combination of Defiance actions or Stiller actions.
I originally started out with a Remington action and a Macmillan stock like most people. I had a really bad match in Arizona a couple years ago. I decided to change everything. So I went to an Axie International AX stock. I like the way it's set up. I like the way my hand feels. I have a straight shoe trigger, which really fits my finger very well. Shooting 6.5 Creedmoor, it's a good all-around round. and then just got the new Vortex Gen 2 scope, which is really spectacular, a spectacular new scope that I'm very, very happy with.
I've gone through 3 different chassis. I just now switched over to a Macmillan. I was having a little bit of issues here and there that would keep some points away from me, feeding issues, etc. I'm running a scope. I got a Collis, shoot for them. Really like that scope. I used to shoot a Vortex, which is also a good scope as well. Different rear bags I've tried out, all kinds of different stuff. But I've run the same action from the get-go, and that shoots well. Run Krieger barrels, and they seem to shoot real well as well.
Every match is a little bit different when it comes to equipment. Some matches you can get by with one mag holder and a Kestrel or a dope card. Other matches you might need 3 different bipods, a tripod, a spotting scope, a rangefinder. I mean, it varies match to match. There's no real one answer for that.
Well, I'm currently running a 6XC that Spartan Precision chambered for me. That's my gunsmith. I've got a Vortex Gen 2 Razor on it right now, so I shoot for them. Timney triggers, Manor stock. Voodoo Tactical supplies me with all of my support gear. JEC brakes, so I've got one of those on all of my rifles. I won't shoot without a muzzle brake anymore. It keeps down on that. Brux Barrels is my barrel sponsor, so I've got one of those. Shoots super accurate, I'm very impressed with it, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple right now.
I'm shooting a Surgeon actioned rifle that was barreled in 6 Creedmoor by my friend Ray Reganian from PRS Rifles right here. He's one of our local gunsmiths. It's in a Manners TF4 stock, and I'm running the new Gen 2 Razor, 4.5 to 27, I believe.
I'm running AIs. The last match I just shot, the Gap Grind, I was using a AX 308 multi-caliber, the new change barrel, the 2014, and a Night Force Beast scope on it. But for me, AI is my preferred platform. Although I do shoot gaps, I have a lot of GA precision rifles, and I have shot that in matches as well. My 6 Creedmoor is a gap, and that's another one. It just really depends on where I'm going. If I need to move a little faster, I go for the lighter gap rifle. If it's not that big a deal, definitely the AI.
US Optics, 5 to 25 power scope. My rifle is a Surgeon 591 built by Crescent Customs. I've got an AICS chassis on it, a benchmark barrel, and 6.5 Creedmoor.
Well, I shoot in a 260 with 140 grain bullet burger, and my stock is a Manners stock, and I use Night Force scope.
Shooting a Kelbley rifle with a March scope. It's a Kodiak action. It's a little bit unique that it's an aluminum action they've taken from their bench rest community and modified for the PRS, the precision rifle shooting that we do.
I shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor built by Peerless Rifles. I have a Vortex Razor Gen 2 with in a Manor stock, 6.5 Creedmoor. I load my own and just, do the best I can with what I got.
Well, I've got a custom-built rifle by Phoenix Custom Rifles, Manor stock, Badger Ordnance, bottom metal, Timney trigger, Defiance Deviant action, Bartline barrel, chambered in a 6.5. 1 and 8 twist, and an APA Little Bastard brake. Running a Bushnell XRS 4.5 to 30 with the Horus H59 reticle for my optics.
I work for Desert Tech, the bullpup sniper rifles. So today I'm running the new R7S chassis system with a KMW Sentinel barreled action in it with a Vortex scope.
Right now I'm running a 6.5 Creedmoor, and it's built by Mark Suley at Spartan Precision Rifles. The rifle's running really great. I have it sitting in a KMW Sentinel stock, and as far as optics go, I'm running a Vortex HG Gen 1, and it's running really good. Everything's in sync on the rifle.
Biggest game changer for me has been I still shoot dot drills, and I really focus in on them. And I'll probably do a 25-round string dot drill. I don't shoot the whole thing, but I'll focus in on breaking my position, getting to position. I think that's the number one thing for me that's really changed my game is being able to build a position quickly, find my targets, and be steady. Because what I see day in, day out at a lot of matches is guys will waste a lot of time, one, trying to find their target, and two, trying to actually get into a decent position where they can hold the rifle steady.
You know, I would say just practicing the things you wouldn't think about practicing about. That's the number one thing for me is, you know, getting away from the comfort zone of prone and going through all the barricades and shooting off tires and doing the stuff you're not comfortable with, because that's how you're going to become a better shooter, not sticking with something you're comfortable with.
Most definitely is I have an IOTA indoor optical training aid, and I have little targets, and I do it in my living room. I have 2 small kids. So I can't get out and shoot every weekend, and I live in Southern California, so there's only so many ranges. But I practice just dry firing in my living room with the indoor optical trainer, and I'll practice kneeling, sitting, standing, which I absolutely hate. But you know, that's probably the best practice I can get at home.
The biggest thing that you have to make absolutely sure that you know of before the match is you have to go out and verify your dope, and then after that, work on your barricades.
Just getting trigger time, repetition, and just getting behind the gun and firing quality rounds. Just shooting, getting really familiar with the rifle.
Trusting your equipment, having good dope, good data, practicing a lot of positional stuff. I mean, I try to do that every time I go shoot. It's by far not my favorite, but I love to lay down and shoot, but make myself shoot the positional stuff, and it's really helped improve me as far as even a hunting situation goes. You're able to get on target so much quicker. I mean, it's really hard to find an awkward position now compared to most guys that just hunt.
Honestly, mindset. You can practice all you want, but if you don't practice mental management and power positive thinking, real big on that, like negative people being around me, but positively reinforcing yourself in practice equates to consistency and being able to shoot subconsciously in a match, and that's hugely important in my opinion. So just staying out of your own way, but you learn that through repetition. If you're doing something in practice and you're just killing it, keep doing it, because you're positively reinforcing yourself. You know, if you shoot and miss and you say, dang it, well, you've negatively reinforced yourself, and that's going to become your character. So
I would say when I go out, I try to make rounds count, not just go and mess around. Fortunately for training, I've been pretty lucky. I train with the BPD sniper team a bit, get to shoot with them, we get to do some run and gun. We have monthly matches, and I would say the biggest game changer is just keep shooting. If you take some time off, you can tell, you know, and that's it's not the greatest for your scores.
Absolutely biggest thing to do is positional shooting and dry practice. Dry practice means more than live fire.
For me, and I've thought this for years, I think having exact come-ups, exact data on your rifle, because I think that wind is something that nobody's perfect at, but you can have perfect elevation. And so if you can eliminate one variable of that equation, it makes shooting a whole lot easier.
Consistency, all the way from load data, when you're on your bench and you're loading and you're prepping your brass, everything needs to be consistent throughout. And when you do go out and shoot, make sure every time you squeeze that trigger, it's consistent. You know, make sure you have a full view of your reticle. You're not shadowing left or right or up or down. And just make sure everything stays consistent, I would say, would be the best.
Being able to call wind's a big one. As long as you can read the wind, everything else will fall into place. That's the biggest thing that hurts a lot of guys, is reading the wind. So work on that as much as possible.
Get off the ground and get into a standing position, using the barricade, using props. You know, shoot on the ground for a little bit, make sure you're zeroed, and then you got to get off the concrete.
Trying to have a positive attitude, trying to bounce ideas and questions off of squad mates, people that are friends of mine that I've shot with for a long time. Just discussing different situations a lot of times will help. Instead of trying to go into something cold, discussing different stages, utilizing different equipment in the course of shooting a particular stage. So mostly just bouncing ideas off of guys who I think are better than I am.
You go to these matches, and at this level of the game, everyone does pretty well. But the things that separate shooters are who can shoot movers and who can shoot positional stuff. Those to me are the real separation, because everyone can get 5s and 6s on stages, but when someone comes into a stage like the finale, that was an extremely hard mover. I've never zeroed a mover in my life. I zeroed that one. Again, Dustin Morris gets up there and cleans it. That's a 10-point difference on that stage alone. So for me, it's the movers and the positional stuff. Everything else can come. Any one of us can lay down and shoot a rifle prone. And that's the problem, is everyone gets stuck in that mentality. They go to the range and they shoot a rifle prone. How often do you go to the range and force yourself to shoot standing? No one does, because everyone hates it. But those are the things that just change it for everyone. This stage right here, the first 3 targets are at 100 yards. A lot of people wrote those off. Shot them 3 for 3. That's 3 easy points if you can get them. So those to me are the 2 biggest things.
Shooting a lot of wind and a lot of positional. And then when you go to shoot prone, it just makes it that much easier.
I shoot a lot of positional. So I'm a firearms instructor at the sheriff's office where I work at, and we do a lot of positional shooting, offhand, standing, kneeling, sitting, off barricades, and then also a lot of dry fire. Dry fire is the key.
Gathering dope, making sure I've got a good recorded data, not just stuff that I'm going off of on a data program, because that, as far as I'm concerned, just try me dope. So if it hasn't been verified at whatever DA you're going to shoot at, it might not be accurate when you're actually using it in competition.
The most beneficial parts of practice for me is positional and barricade work. Not a lot of PRS matches have prone shots. You know, most of this stuff is off a natural terrain obstacle, a barricade, tires, you know, things like that. The more, you know, non-traditional shooting you can do, the better you're going to be at it. You know, practice, dry fire practice is a big one. Dry fire in your living room, use the back of your couch, an end table, a kitchen counter, go out in the garage, use your motorcycle, you know, use whatever you can for non-traditional support and really practice the non-prone positions.
The main thing that helps your performance, in my opinion, is actually get down on the ground, shoot prone, understand exactly what your rifle is doing, make sure you can understand how to shoot a good group, what little bits of wind can affect your groups, and then get on the barricades, then do the positional stuff. But have certainty in your mind that what you're doing fundamentally to squeeze that trigger is right and what that bullet will do in the right conditions.
It's all about the fundamentals. When I practice for a match, I just stick to the basics and I make sure my drop is dead on and I know what it is out to the distance I'm going to shoot, if not beyond. And I just make sure that is perfect so I don't have to worry about it. Then the next thing I do, it's positional. I practice from sitting, kneeling, and standing, barricades off a tripod, and I make sure that I can repeat my prone success from a position. It may not be, you know, half minute from a position, but I want to be as close to a minute as I can from an alternate position.
Some of the game changers or things that could better your performance for me is making sure that you do the little things right. For example, in this match, I didn't chamber check some of my ammo, so I felt like, you know, I didn't have to do that, but it's a step that I overlooked. And some of my rounds didn't chamber in cartridge because I was using old brass or picked up somebody else's brass. Little things like that, but mentally preparing. But most of all, being able to have access to go to a range and get solid dope out to, you know, probably 1,000, 1,200 yards, and just making sure you can get your elevation right, and then while you're doing that, just play around with the wind and figure out the wind. But you can't get enough of that type of practice.
You know, the one thing I'll say is, because there's plenty of matches that I show up to that I haven't trained at all for because of a busy work schedule, but the thing that'll make or break any shooter in any match is that person's mind. If you come into a match with a good attitude, hey, I want to come out here and have fun, you'll perform to your abilities where you're at that time anyway. If you come with a bad attitude, it's going to be a rough match.
I try to get as much dry firing in as possible, because I mean that stuff's free. I mean you can dry fire all day long on these rifles that we run. You're not going to hurt anything. I mean, I dry fire anywhere from 250 to 500 rounds whenever I can. And oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, you know, this is what keeps me coming back to these matches. I get some random guy come up and kiss me on the cheek. Come on now.
Oh, well, I'm not sure my performance is the thing that you should be using as a benchmark, but for me, dry firing is very important, and I don't do it enough, but I think, especially for people that are starting out, it doesn't seem intuitive that dry firing should really help that much, but it really does. And every time I spend a few rounds dry firing and mentally going through it, it just seems to sink in better, and I do better. The other thing is, read the course of fire. I have done this at least once already in this match, and that is, you know, you read the course of fire, make sure you catch all the little things in it, because it's really easy to be on your game and hit everything, but if you shot them in the wrong order, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wish I could practice more. I got a full-time job and a full family, and they like to have me around, so I'm lucky to get to our monthly matches and our bi-monthly steel matches. I shoot for the NorCal Practical Precision Rifle Club in Sacramento. We have monthly paper matches out to 1,000 yards, and every other month we have a steel match out to 550 yards, and I attend every one of those. So it's basically like going to one of these away matches every month. So I think that really makes a huge difference to have those resources for Sacramento.
Most guys go out to a long range, lay down, and just shoot long targets, which is great if it's windy. But a day shooting with no wind at long targets is almost a waste. Your dope is your dope, your rifle is your rifle. Those things don't change. So I'd say practice on windy days, and if it's not windy, practice positional. Positional. People don't practice it enough. If you want to wipe up here, you need to practice your positional.
This whole thing's a mind game. There's only one time ever in shooting for me that I can actually blame the rifle. 99% of the time it's just your head. You just got to get out of your head, walk away. Don't get angry, don't throw a fit. I mean, we're all men, we don't need to be children, so don't, just take a chill pill, relax, and start over. That's all you can do.
You got to take yourself aside for a few minutes and say, all right, let's go. Don't get so serious. Let's get back to the basics. Watch your target, watch the wind, put the right dope on your gun, and press the trigger properly.
You just got to fight through it. You know, it happens to everybody. You know, every now and then you're going to have a bad stage. You just can't carry it on to the next one. And I guess that works in life as well.
Hey, Bill. Forget the last round you sent. You have to forget it and send your new round. Make sure every one of your next shot count.
What I do is I kind of grit my teeth a little bit, focus in a little bit harder on the course of fire, and I'll actually walk through the course of fire a few times. I'll get glass out. I'll make sure I know where all the targets are. Basically what I do is, instead of trying to shoot, I like to try to shoot at more of an instinctual level, but again, if you're slumping, that's not working for you. You got to dial it in. You have to drill down what you're actually going to do on the range and have a good plan, and then shoot the plan. And then, you know, you make an extra hit per stage, you make an extra 2 hits per stage, then you kind of get your confidence back, and you're like, okay, I actually know how to shoot. I'm not, you know, a total Momo.
Think of it as what it is. I'm out here to have fun, get your attitude right, and come out and have fun. And you'll automatically start hitting some targets.
Whenever I get in the slump, I just think about it. I can't change that. That's the way it is, so I have to bring my A game on the next one.
I'll walk away from a stage, clear my head, and just rethink what I need to do on that stage and forget about everything that happened previously that caused the slump.
you just got to forget about that stage. You just got to go into the next stage with a clean slate and think, you know what, I'm going to get as many hits on this stage as possible. You don't start thinking I got to make up points, because when you start thinking like that, you're going to put even more pressure on yourself, get down on yourself, and I mean it's hard to get back into the game once you've kind of been mentally beaten by a stage. But the best thing to do is just to go into the next stage with a positive mental attitude and take what you learned from that stage that you just completely tanked and just drive on throughout the rest of the match.
Focus on the shot you're shooting and try not to think about the one behind and the one ahead. Just get your crosshairs on target, take your time, make your hits.
I'd say concentrate on the positive and not the negative. A lot of guys will have a bad stage and they come off that stage and they shoot bad the rest of the match. If you have a bad stage, try to laugh it off. Try to figure out what caused it, if it's something mechanical or something in your head, and just go to the next stage like it was your first.
The best thing to do is I really try to take one shot at a time. You really can't dwell on the past or the last trigger pull. It's almost like playing golf. You just got to take it one stroke at a time and keep moving forward.
For me personally, I don't get into a slump. I don't let a bad score on a stage bother me. As a matter of fact, my first stage today, I got 0. You just gotta. It's a game. We're not in this to be. I'm not in this to be the best shooter at the match. I know I'm not. There's so many people who shoot better than me, and I understand that, and I believe it in my heart. So, if I can come out and just have a great time, meet new people, and just hang out with a great bunch of people that participate in the PRS, that's what it's all about. So, I just don't let bad scores or even finishing bad bother me too much, because it's still a great weekend. That's about it.
Short memory. You gotta have a short memory. It's real easy to get flustered and you make a bad wind call or you didn't read the stage brief good. You just gotta have short memory, put it behind you, and get on to the next target string like nothing happened. You can't sit there and dwell on it, because you're obviously thinking about your shots you missed instead of the ones you need to make.
Buy a new piece of gear? I don't know. No, I don't know. Just try to keep focus one target at a time and not really look at the overall picture. And even if you've been shooting bad, try to come back up and shoot the next stage good, because build confidence and just go up from there. I don't try to focus on the bad so much.
You might not like this answer. I don't get in slumps. If you train your mind correctly to begin with, you don't even get into a slump. People get into slumps from getting down on themselves and dwelling on a shot they can't bring back. Once a bullet goes down range, once it's out of the muzzle, it's out of my control. If I miss, make a correction. Don't sit there and why the heck did I just miss that? Who cares? Bracket the shot in your reticle and send the next shot.
You just got to be able to put everything behind you and forget that it happened, because we all get in slumps, and you just got to put those stages behind you, put those shots behind you.
Well, the best thing to do that I've learned to do is just, that the past is the past. You can't put the bullet back in the gun. It's gone, and that gunpowder's burnt. You can't make up for it, so you just move along.
Just keep shooting and try to make that next shot count. And I usually try to slow down if I have a bad session and just focus on one shot only and not care about any of the other shots, and just make one clean one, get that success, and then go from there.
I've had a couple bad stages actually this, and in years past, probably immaturity, I would cuss and be loud and just ruin my whole day. But anymore, I just kind of hang my head for a second, realize I can't make that mistake again, and immediately go into preparing for the next stage. And you got to put it behind you. It's easy to go back and talk about it and tell everybody what you did wrong, but really you just got to make it up. If it's one more shot on the next stage, that's what you got to do. You got to make that one extra hit, and that's the best way to get out of a slump.
I try to move on. When I do the stage, and if I zeroed it, try to forget it. Okay, let's go to the next stage. We know what we did on that one. We're going to correct it next time. Move on to the next one. Try to keep focused on what you got coming up.
you just gotta be able to mentally hit that reset button. If you screw a stage up, it's just one stage. Don't dwell on it, move on to the next one. You can't fix what's already gone down the barrel, so you have to just focus on the next shot and don't worry about the past. We can't change it, don't focus on it.
So the hardest thing is to pull yourself out. Once you're all the way down in the trenches, the hardest thing to do mentally is to pull yourself back in the game, and it's a conscious effort. You have to mentally focus on pulling yourself out of that slump and take it one stage at a time. The last stage that you shot doesn't mean anything. The next stage coming up, you have to mentally focus and prepare on that, and eventually you'll come out of the slump.
Usually if you don't do good on a stage, it's likely that many other people struggle with that stage as well. And so we're firing over 150 rounds in this match, so there's likely a chance that you're going to be able to make up and excel at another stage. And so to put it behind you and move on.
Got two guys, Francis Cole, #1, the animal. That guy, I love shooting with him. Just watching that guy shoot is incredible. And then I used to have a nemesis. His name is Wade Studeville. I can't tell, I think I've got like 6 or 7 second place finishes with him. And then I realized that I'm my own nemesis. I'm not shooting against anyone but myself out here. I can't control what these other guys do. And when I figured that out, started shooting a lot better. But Wade and Francis and Dustin Morris too. Dustin's another left-handed shooter, and that guy, when he's on, you can't beat him. So those three guys, really nice to watch those guys shoot. Just great people too. So.
Me myself, he's a world-class shooter in a different category. So I don't really have anybody in this sport that I would say that's inspiring me. But I guess the guys that shoot with me keep me on my toes and make sure that we're all being competitive at the top level.
Who inspires me most? That's a tough question because there's so many great shooters out there. So I kind of figure out who they all are, and I'll just pick their brains on what they do and take little tools that I can from them.
My biggest inspiration would be the new shooters in the sport. Like I said, I run a monthly match, and being able to introduce new people to the sport that I love so much, the sport that we all love so much, that inspires me every month to get out there and do it. Is it a pain in the butt to run a match every month, waking up at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday? It's horrible. I hate it. But when you can bring new people in the sport and they start sharing the love of that sport that you do, it's just fantastic. That's my inspiration every month, to wake up and go set up the steel and sacrifice my shooting to run the match. At my own matches, yeah, I shoot them. I don't do well because I'm focused on running the match. But it's worth it for me. I still get a little bit of practice in, but the biggest part is those new shooters. That's what keeps me going.
My wife, she's out here shooting this match also, and she's a great shooter. And I'm in it for my friends. We're all out here just having a good time. But I like to see my wife out here, and she's one of the top female shooters, so she's my inspiration for this.
There are a lot of great shooters. I've been watching Chase today and just trying to really learn, just look at how he's shooting. Individuals that shoot to that level, any of them, it really doesn't matter. Just watching them is an inspiration. And even the guys on your team, the guy that went before you, depending on how well, you did good or bad, it doesn't matter. They're all inspirations. You learn from everybody.
Really what inspires me when I lay down, or when I go to a monthly match like Kevin runs or one of our matches, and I see somebody get really pumped up over shooting a course of fire, or during a class when you see a guy hit a target at 600, 700, 800, 900 yards, 1,000 yards, and the first time they've ever shot that far, that's what inspires me. That's what keeps me going. I love that. It doesn't have to be one specific person. It's just more of an event. It's more of an event-driven inspiration.
I guess just be my family. I'm a very family-oriented person, and so I don't want to disappoint them. Not that they would be disappointed if I did terrible up here, but definitely my family.
obviously the Dustin Morrises of this world, Brian Morgan, those guys, Ryan Kerr, those guys come out and they never have a bad match. They can come out here with a brand new barrel and they pull out like a 5th place or 7th place. They're at a level that is everyone here aspires to be at. We all can do well, we all can do bad, but they're consistently good. So there's a lot more names, but to keep it short, those are top 3 probably for me.
Definitely the veterans of the sport, and it's really a great thing when they'll put on a train up, or you can go to a mini seminar before a match, and they'll give pointers and they'll tell you what works for them. It's the veterans of the sport, I think, have really helped push it forward and help other people go to the next level.
I'd absolutely say the most inspirational guys are the new shooters that come out and do their best. It doesn't matter where they end up in the pack, but if they're having fun, we know we're pushing the sport forward.
Today, with this match, Chase Stroud, who's in our squad, is doing amazing, and watching him and just watching his control and his ability to just plow through the stages and just make hit after hit after hit. I mean, it's just, in my head, that's how I shoot. But, you know, it's different when you get up on the line and you actually have to do it. But I had a few good stages, you know, and I cleaned a few, like one stage yesterday, and you know, you get that feeling, and it's really fun when you have somebody like that shooting on your squad, and then you're able to get like the same point spread as him on one stage or two, and you're like, all right, I can do this. I just need to work harder. And I think what separates this sport from a lot of other sports, a lot of the more, you know, the golf and the tennis and the baseball and all that, is that this sport is almost zero natural ability. This sport, the guys who win this sport are the guys that practice the hardest, try the hardest, really understand their gear, really understand what's going on. And you do have to have the money to put into it. And if you can find that, or if you can get sponsored and they can help you out, then everybody that I've seen who's applied themselves to this sport has been able to do well at it. Even if it's not the top whatever. I think it's one of the few truly egalitarian sports where even if you're physically, you know, not that athletic of a guy, you can do well at this sport if you really apply and try yourself.
My friends, we started Team Rhino as basically just a whole bunch of us friends shooting. We're not really in it to gain a bunch of sponsors and make a bunch of money. It's just us friends to come out here and have a good time. So just all my friends and my Phoenix friends. Chris Tressler, we shoot together a lot in northern Arizona, so we're always going back and forth, and that's it really. Nate Webnar from Short Action Precision. He's a little person. It's pretty inspiring to see him come out and be able to shoot and compete against everybody else out here. So it just makes no excuse not to come out and try it.
You know what, when I first started shooting, actually I went out to K&M out in Crestview, Florida, and hung out with Brian Morgan and Shannon Kay. And I have to say, Brian Morgan's probably the guy that really like inspires me in the sport, you know, just because he's a solid guy. I mean, on the range and off. Can't think enough, think very highly, very approachable, always willing to help, just a true, genuine guy. So, I mean, he's a guy, every time I met him, he's always got a smile, he's always willing to help. That's probably the guy I'd idolize.
Well, I've kind of got a good list with that. My husband, for one, because he kicks ass. Jacob Bynum and Lisa Bynum from Rifles Only, Lindy Sisk from Rifles Only. A bunch of these guys that are here today, all the guys in the Arizona Club. There's a bunch of good shooters here in Vegas. The NorCal guys are the ones that mentored our club. So pick and choose all over. I've got a bunch. And I gain a lot of inspiration from some of the newer girls that are coming up. Christine Allen, this is her first big PRS match. Allison Thalacker from Florida, she's 14 and on fire. Melissa Gilliland, Jess Dusart, Sandy Richardson, bunch of girls. So seeing them out there having fun is good.
Oh man, I tell you what, you can find inspiration anywhere on one of these ranges, at either the Nellis range or here at the Cadam range. I mean, it's fun. This is fun, and when it stops being fun, that's when I'm going to stop shooting these matches, because I'm not making a living doing this. This is just completely a fun sport. Shooting targets, hearing them ring, hearing that reaction, and then we have SHOT Show coming up this week. So it was kind of one of those package deals. I drove out from Oklahoma, picked up my buddy in Arizona, came up here, we saw the Hoover Dam, and here we are shooting this awesome match.
Yeah, there are a lot of great shooters in the sport. I've looked up to a number of guys in this sport. You know, Wade Studeville started out. I started out shooting with him and Preston Pritchett in Oklahoma, and they were two guys that really kind of, I could see that they were above levels of a lot of guys. So I wanted to get that level. Terry Cross, another great example of that early on. And really what inspires me now is the new guys coming up, guys like Jeremy Bentham, Chase Stroud. These guys only been shooting a couple of years, if that, in competition, and they're already surpassed us old guys. So it's really neat to see these new guys come along.
Who inspires me personally are the guys with the lesser equipment and the less means than I may have. Those guys who come to a match and know that they're not running a $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 rifle system. They may have a $2,000 system. Those are the guys who inspire me, because if they're out there doing it and they're out there trying to get better and to make it work, there's no excuse for me. I should be out there right alongside them and doing it myself. It's really about all the other people that inspire me, especially those with less means.